Hello and welcome to R&R's Ask the Expert. I'm Kayla McGowan, Editor-in-Chief, and today we have a very special guest. Obviously you can see him, usually you can't see my guest. VP of Software Management?
Yes, management.
With PuroClean. And he's just been newly promoted, so before we start, congratulations on the promotion. I know you've worked awful hard, and you're doing a really great job. So recently you guys partnered with Know How, which is huge, right,
yes,
for you guys. So this is kind of where we're starting the conversation, if you will. So the first kind of question for you is, with this announcement, how did you integrate the AI-powered tools into your guys' workflow? And why was it so important to do that?
It was important because technology is changing so quickly. This industry is changing so quickly. And we wanted to not just have a file system where you could go, hey, here's this file, here's this file. We saw the capabilities that were out there. And when I say we, I'll give a lot of props to Mark Davis. Mark Davis is one of the ones who first saw this and went, hey, this is something that we need for our franchises. Mm-hmm. They need the ability to be able to ask it questions, to be able to be aware of what information is where and have it very quick and accessible in a technician's hands or an owner's hands or support staff's hands to say, hey, I'm looking for this question, and instead of spending time going through various files and searching, ask it a question. Just go, hey, how do I fix an S500 error on a DHU? It's out in the field. This is time that can be taken away from drying the house quickly and efficiently to be able to fix that right there on the field, and instead of dropping equipment, having to do additional runs to and from the home. So the ability to have really good information at your fingertips was really, really important. And it enables us to not only have information to the hands of the franchises, but as new technology comes out and new software or communication that's really important, to be able to say, hey, we're going to send out these SLAs and we're going to get this out to every single franchise, and then be able to acknowledge it, to read up on it, and if something changes, we don't have to go and retrain every single thing. We can update that one piece of information, and then it will update everything throughout the entire rest of the network. That capability was really, really important to us, because it's all like having to pull out old stuff is really, really time consuming and frustrating for the franchises.
What I would say to your point, it's customizable for your business, right?
Yes.
So you guys put the information in, and now everybody across your network has access to the same information. If they have the same question, they're going to get the same answer. And I think that's something that we've run into, that we know that AI isn't always going to give you the same answer, but if it's customized to you and your business, it makes a huge difference. And I think that's one thing that is great for you guys now, over 500 locations.
Yes.
Right?
It is quite the amount to manage, but yeah. And so I started as a regional director, and I had 35 franchises, and none of my 35 franchises ran exactly the same. Mm-hmm. They were all different. Now we have what's called the PuroClean way. You say, hey, you ask to go put it out there, and it's the same information everywhere. We can do really good broad strokes, but there are certain times with it being customizable. So I was over Denver. Denver was, if it doesn't matter if your house was built yesterday, you have to do asbestos testing. Mm-hmm. So in the PuroClean way, I can create all my trainings for all the network and say, hey, if the house was built in 19 blah blah blah, you have to do asbestos testing. So I can do those broad strokes. But with Know How, well, if I'm a franchise owner in Denver, I can change my wording to say, hey, if the house was built yesterday, you need to do asbestos testing. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't impact every single one. I'm able to customize on top of what PuroClean gives me. So I can do broad strokes and help the franchises build, but if they need to get really, really particular, they can get really, really particular, but it doesn't impact everybody else.
Yeah.
The power of being able to do that was really, really important when we were investigating this.
Well, I'd say to your point, 500 locations, and you're talking smaller scale, 35, right? To what you were an RD for, everybody does everything differently based on the rules and regulations that surround their everyday jobs, right? Denver, we know asbestos is on everything, to your point. If it was built yesterday, we're testing, right? Not all states are like that. And so to be able to customize that, it's great because now you can have a day 1 tech or a year 20 tech get the same answer. And if there are questions, you can ask questions. You can ask additional questions, which is really cool. So with that being said, over 500 locations, I think it was said 515, that's a lot to manage. Consistency is so crucial to the success of the business. So with that being said, how does technology help you maintain brand standards while still empowering your local owners to operate efficiently and effectively?
So I think we kind of went over that a little bit, but just to reemphasize is we have here at PuroClean, we have what's called the PuroClean way, and it's the most consistent across the board way for them to do a job from A to Z. If it is a new technician starting in the field, we have the PuroClean way. It starts with culture. We just had a great conversation about culture with the RIA, and directed by Steve White, and we will start that day 1 technician with the culture, and we'll keep it throughout the entire theme of the education with the PuroClean way. And then as these new technologies come in and we find the right place in the ecosystem, whether it's through the SPAR program or additional things being newly added to as a franchise, saying, hey, I found this, I want to be able to do this, they're able to train that and have it consistent, the same thing over and over again. One thing I love with our SPAR program, which is our vendor management program here at PuroClean, to be on that SPAR program, you have to put your training into know-how. And then if you're deciding to use that partners, you can pull in that information into your library and go, hey, I want to train my technicians on this, and this is how we do it. And it's consistent throughout. It's whether you're in Denver or California or Washington, or apparently I'm thinking of West Coast, but Florida and
hey,
New York.
In all fairness, I'm a West Coast person too. Everything gets a little gray once you get past the Midwest because, right, we're focused on our side of the country most of the time. That's what you have RDs for.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Let's be true here with the business model that you guys have. Your RDs are regional specific, and so they know that part of the country. So in your defense, I'm a West Coaster too, so it is what it is. I'm sure the East Coasters focus on the East Coast too, and that's just the nature of the beast, but that's why you guys have the supporting staff on your team to help you guys stay focused on those specific regions, if you will. So, West Coast people, I guess we always defer to the West Coast.
No, it's true, but this also enables those regional directors in their region, if they want to do some regional training, they can do regional training, whether it's a podcast type series or some trainings. Hey, I'm going to coming in doing visits, and they can send it just to their region, and that region now can go, hey, I'm coming in, he's going to come and do a visit, we're going to talk about P&Ls, we're going to be talking about safety and compliance, we're going to talk about how I'm going to be profitable, and they can do that training ahead of time through know-how so that the expectations are set and it's not the first 20 minutes it's no expectations are set, and it's consistent throughout their entire region.
We've been speaking about AI, right? Not a little bit, but a lot of it. It's actually getting its traction now in our space, even though it's been around for a really long time. In our industry, it's interesting because it gets a little scary, right? People think that they're automatically going to be replaced. So how do you see tools like know-how supporting our technicians and our franchise teams in the field while preserving that hands-on expertise and experience? I think we could talk about this for a really long time, but in short, what does that look like?
So AI in this field should be a force multiplier. I don't ever see it for taking people's jobs in this area. This is a very manual, very process-oriented service sector. AI is never going to be able to pull a carpet. AI is never going to be able to dry a couch. Like, it's going to still be a very person on the hands-on, taking care of the homeowner, the customer. Now, AI can be, hey, I am having problems doing X, Y, Z, or hey, I came across, a particular situation in a home that I don't normally happen consistently, and man, I know I did this 3 months ago, and I knew there was a training. I can't remember how to do it, because you get good at what you do consistently, and it's these special one-offs that go, hey, if I have documented the series, and I can then go and ask my AI, hey, how do I do a 2-foot flood cut? Which is a dumb question to ask, because that's one of those things we do a ton, but an example of, hey, I need to pull baseboards, I need to do something that's beyond the normal, instead of going and having to call a manager, take that additional time, and not only am I stopping, but that manager is stopping, or that project manager. We're going consistently down, stopping multiple people, where if I have it built in and trained, I can just ask my AI, my know-how, and go, hey, how do I do this? I'm able to get back to the job quicker. I'm not stopping the project manager. We're no longer spending the 5-10 minutes that turn into the 20 minutes that turn into the 30 minutes, just consistently over and over and over again. And I'm able to remember that a lot quicker. If I know where to get the answer, I don't know everything. Yeah. And I fully trust my wife will completely agree with me. I do not know everything. But I know how to use Google. I know how to find answers. I know how to use know-how. I can find those answers. And that's what's most important. Not necessarily having AI do all the things, but have AI be that force multiplier to save the time, to save the repetition of not doing it as often, to be able to go, hey, I do this every once in a while. Can you give me a quick refresher on how I do this?
What I was going to say, it's an enhancement.
Yes.
Right? It's not a crutch, it's an enhancement to help us do what we do best. Take care of the customer, perform the work, get them back into their home or their business where it's safe and habitable. So I think, to your point, they're not going to come pull carpet. They're not going to do the flood cutting. They're not going to do the customer service, right? I know you guys are really big on customer service, and so it's one of those things where that human aspect of things is not going to ever be replaced, and that's just the nature of the beast. I had a conversation with somebody about a week ago, and he called me and he said, will we still be relevant to write articles, was a question to me. And I said, you will always be relevant. All of our industry professionals will always be relevant. And the reason is AI is not as fast as we are. So we have to tell AI what has changed and what's coming and what's different for it to ever spit it out. And he was like, that's a great point. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to do what we tell it, but how many people are telling it the wrong thing? So I think that's the other thing. Again, with know-how, this partnership is very controlled. It's your proprietary information, and so you know that it's not going to give out the wrong information.
Yep.
But I think that's where those types of things, we just have to sit down and have those conversations for people to understand. You can leverage it, but it also could be your demise if you don't know what you're using. And I think that goes into the SPAR program, which we will talk about that later down the road, because this is all about partnerships and implementing technology into your business. So how do you think this is going to help your guys as franchise owners come in, even if they're not tech savvy, and find success with this partnership?
So there's that consistency, but one of the to add to that and to their success is, I was on a webinar the other day where we were actually joking that we were going to start a drinking game with how many times he said, don't put a customer's information into an LLM. We wanted to give franchises a safe and secure place to be able to put information. Not only will they be able to see the corporate stuff, but they can also put their own information in and know how is SOC 2 compliant, which you've heard quite a bit, both at multiple conferences, the importance of being SOC 2. It is a very secure place where they can know that they can go to and enhance their business, and they don't have to worry about putting information in the wrong place so that it's compromised. So we're allowing them to have safe places to do this and expand, rather than just getting something off the market, not knowing that if they have the right settings, and potentially putting themselves at risk.
Well, and I think that's the other thing, risk is there's not reward in this type of risk. So let's be very careful. SOC 2 compliance is definitely something that we've seen a lot. I would say in the last 24 months, it's been a really big deal in our space. You guys are also leading that, I think, is, I'll give you guys credit, because I definitely will say SOC 2 compliance, the first time I ever heard it was with you and Nick. So, I knew of it, but not really in our industry, right? Banking industry and things like that, it's a little different. But in our space, we are always a little late to the technology game. And so rolling it out right is how we're doing things. And I think that's really important for people to understand. So with that being said, you guys have like 300 plus processes and procedures from my understanding.
Oh, yeah. Easy.
So with that being said, with it being accessible with your partnership with know-how, how do you see that change in the day-to-day? I know we've talked a little bit about that, but I'm thinking of maybe the person coming in day one, maybe never been in our space. What does that mean for them, right? The learning is, enhanced quite a bit. It's sped up. So by the time they come in and do the training with Darren and the team, they're already well versed. How do you see that really making a change for those who have maybe not been in the industry?
So I've spent a lot of time with new franchises and coming in from whether it's an executive level position, firefighters. There was one class we had 4 high school coaches from wrestling teams. I don't know if they went to a wrestling team to start finding people, but it was really interesting. But back then, it was a very manual process. Like this was 7-8 years ago when that happened, and it was a very here's your binder. We've gone from binders to online videos to now enhancing those videos with AI to be able to answer those questions. It's that natural progression as new technology comes out, it enhances it. So as great as we did 5, 6, 7 years ago when we were handing out those binders, excuse me. Now to be able to say, hey, pull out your phone.
Yeah.
I want you to look at this. I want you to find this. It's your first job. As a regional director, that was one of my my favorite calls. Was, hey, we just did all the training. We are excited. We're pumped. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
I got my first call. What do I do?
Yeah.
And it was my favorite call. Okay. You have to start going, okay, well, tell me what type of call it was. Did you get the phone number? Did you get the address? People get excited.
Yeah.
It would not uncommon for them to not get the address. They're excited. I know I'm almost happy for them. But it's okay. Hey, you've got the first job. Now it's, hey, here's the video series and here's the AI. It's, hey, I got my first job. What do I do?
Yeah.
It's going to give you a load list of, hey, it's a water job. You want to make sure you have on your van XYZ. It's a fire job. Here's LMNOP. Do you have the right tools on the van for that particular type of job that you're going to? And the confidence difference between, hey, I can do this if I can get a hold of somebody, to, hey, I can go out and I can do this because I have that support in my pocket. Yeah. It's always going to still involve your regional director. You're still that's why you have us as a support system. But that level of nervousness of, hey, can I do this, should go down because they have always access to some type of information.
Well, that's a great way to answer that too, because I think a lot of times I'm guilty of it too. I've done my first year of hands-on training. I'm so proud of myself because I've been in the industry for 10 years. It took me 9 to go into the field. And it's true. You go through the training and everything and you're like, oh, I've got this. And then you get that first phone call and you're like,
adrenaline hits. It's
son of a biscuit, I'm like, I know I should have asked these questions, but I didn't ask them, right? And so now in the moment, you can actually still be talking to your customer and asking questions and have all of the keys to the castle when you get there. And I think that's really important too, because that's part of the customer service, right? It's enhancing the customer service. You're showing up with all the right equipment, the right amount of people,
yes.
The right processes and procedures. So I think it's really important to understand how this is enhancing the business, because technology can be a little scary. We've heard some conversations today about, hey, ooh, it's shiny. You get back and you're like, doesn't do anything I wanted it to do, but it sounded like a great plan. So with that being said, I think we're going to talk a little bit about SPAR here. Okay. With PuroClean and just the industry as a whole, honestly advancing so fast. When there's new technologies, how should we classify what is essential and what's just truly just shiny?
The great question. I think there's essentials are different for every single business and the different size of the business. Mm-hmm. There are tools out there that are very shiny and they are very niche. They are going to be the best tool if you're a certain size doing a certain process. Now, if you are doing that, it is a great tool. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing a particular type of service or a particular type of workflow, it'll sound great. You're going to buy it, and then it's going to collect dust on the shelf, and you're going to keep paying for it. I'm surprised how many people have those subscriptions. You got 4 Netflix account. Same things with these softwares. Yeah. And there is absolutely software fatigue out there for the technicians. Mm-hmm. And this is one thing, particularly what I do and with SPAR and finding out what is important is I have had the opportunity to, not just with PuroCleans, but many other industry professionals when I go to these shows and these conventions, and I'll sit down and you have lunch and go, hey, I'm with so and so, I'm so and so, and one of my favorite questions to ask is, how many apps are your technicians in every single day?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, 2 or 3. I was like, really? Only that? And I said, okay, well, what about? And we start talking phone, text message, job management. What is your job? Water, tracking, dry mapping. Just we start going through, and it is not uncommon to get to 8 to 10 apps per job. And you think about how many, and this is why APIs are so important, and why we're pushing that with SPARs is. Every time you have to stop and re-put a customer's information in over and over and over in all these different apps, there's more opportunities for error.
Yes.
With misspelling, I am the reason spell check was invented. I fully will admit it. There's errors and possibilities of things not connecting correctly. Yeah. And there is a lot of software fatigue. And SPAR has come into a place where we're going, mandates don't work well. They sound great. They're great. Yeah. They're a paper tiger. They sound amazing on paper. They look really good. But when you start getting in it, people don't all think the same. And they want the option to go, hey, don't tell me what I have to use. Tell me what are my options.
Yeah.
And that's where we've kind of developed the system where here's our preferred partner. Here's who we recommend you use. If you don't like them, my job is not to sell you a piece of software. I have done enough support for software and different things and trying to convince people to do it, and it just doesn't work in their head.
Yeah.
But to be able to go, here's our partners in this segment, find out who you want to use, interview them. We just talked about finding that right partner, not a vendor, find a partner. Who's going to teach and train and support that, because you can have the world's greatest software. It's platinum, it's gold covered, it's got jewels and everything, but if it don't use it, there is no value.
Yeah.
And people ask me all the time, what's your best software? The one you're going to use.
Yeah.
The one great, you're now using 11 apps, but if you're excited to use all 11 apps, it brings value to your business because you're going to consistently use it over and over again because you have buy-in, because you did the research, you did the legwork to find what's going to work best for your system. Now, for it to be able to work within PuroClean, it's got to be SOC 2. It's got to pass my security checks because we take security very, very seriously. But if it's within my ecosystem network, go for it.
Yeah.
Find the one that you're excited about, and then let me support you in using that.
Well, I think we talked about SPAR when you first were getting ready to roll it out, and I was really excited about it. And I told you, I said, this is something that's going to change the industry, not just for PuroClean. It's going to change the industry because now we're setting a standard, right? And if you haven't watched, standards, not mandates. I've interviewed Nick. I've heard you guys talk about it. And so I think, when we're looking at things as an industry, sometimes technology can be overwhelming and scary, but it doesn't have to be. I think when you talk about API, when you talk to somebody and you mention like open API or anything like that, they freak out. But there's SOC 2 compliance, there's some other layers, there's customized opportunities for you and your business. I think it's really important because, to your point, we're human. If we're in 7 apps, that's 7 options or opportunities to have an error. And let's be real, it may not be the same error in all. Right?
It could be. I've seen it across the board, yeah.
And it happens, and I think that's really important. The reason why we're talking about this is because you can partner with the right partner. Yes. And you can excel your business and enhance your business. But it takes time. It does not happen overnight. I know SPAR did not happen overnight.
It did not, but I had to. It's taken a long journey, and part of that journey and that building the runway for this know-how, we knew very early on, once we could identify it, that know-how was going to be a big part of how SPAR was going to be successful.
Yeah.
Because I have to put these foundational pieces in place so that I can build on top of that, and know-how is an essential part of that.
Yeah. Well, I think to your point, you find the right partner, you're able to actually put all these things into play, which is really important. And that's really what stemmed this episode. When I saw the announcement come through, I said, this is a conversation that needs to be had, because I don't think people understand how critical it is to the business and everything that we do every single day, not just for PuroClean, but the industry as a whole. And know-how does do a lot for our industry. They do a lot for us as well at R&R. And I think it's really important for people to understand you have to embrace it. I think I've heard you guys say that a couple of times. Don't be scared, embrace it. Yep. If you don't embrace it, you'll get left behind. So that's really, really important. And to your point, whatever you use is the best thing for you. And I think that's really important to also remember. We heard this earlier in the panel today. There's going to be seasons in your business, which means there's going to be changes in partners, and that's just the nature of the beast. Some may be able to scale with you, some may not, and that's okay. And I think that's also why SPAR is so successful already. It's a year old almost, right?
No, it's actually technically only, it's been in discussion for a year, but it's only been live for about 4 months, 5 months. So yeah.
Well, we've almost had that conversation a year ago.
Yes, we started.
And
yes,
so
I had to put stuff in place.
You did have to put stuff in place.
But I had to get the right vendors in place for
And so I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about this, because I want people to understand the importance and the weight that it's going to carry. Not just partnerships, obviously that's what this conversation was about. I think we should talk about SPAR in another separate episode, because I think people need to understand the magnitude that it's going to play onto the industry, not just into one business, but the entire industry. Because I think, again, in this industry, we do rely on standards across the board and the things that we do, but also when we're implementing stuff. So I want to say thank you so much for sharing some insights with me today. Do you have any final words before we sign off?
No, I appreciate everything that R&R Magazine does and other publications. Just, guys, education is really, really important in this industry, and if you don't know what's going on, then you're going to get left behind, whether it's software technology, changes in cleaning methods, etc. So if you are not subscribed to R&R, you really should.
Yeah, shameless plug there for my friend CJ. But no, truly, I really believe education is so key. Information is so key. I mean, many of you may not think that a press release is really important, but honestly, it truly is, because now it tells us kind of where we're going into the future of the industry. So I do welcome all of the PuroClean franchises on behalf of R&R and the Experience, and I'm so glad to have you guys as a partner with us. So for all of you watching, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Ask the Expert. Take care.